Welcome to the All About Ability podcast. Yes, I nailed it. We've had a wee bit of a break the past few months, but we're back and we're ready to go again. And I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks in podcast. We're going to be back every Tuesday, 5 o'clock. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we're going to have some good content coming your way, so stay tuned. Well, how do you introduce this man? I've actually done a lot of digging on you, and it's such a fascinating journey. Like a lot of things I did not expect. There was things that came up that I didn't think were going to happen. Yeah. But just for anyone, any of the ICW fans tuning in right away, we get the main event of Shugs House Party.
Yep.
King of the Sanity match.
Yep.
And we will get to that.
Night 1, July 29th, main event. Yeah.
Just for anyone that listens to the first 30 seconds of the podcast, we want to get
a
ticket, go to that show, and it's going to steal the show because this guy is impressive, Leyton Buzzard. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, man, for sure.
We have a lot to talk about. You know, because when I was, looking, I did not expect to see anything about musical theatre.
Yeah, that's where I started. That's my origins.
And something really stood out to me. I was like 10 years old, and you're on a show for the BBC. It was like, anything I can do. What was it called again?
I Do Anything.
Yes, yeah. That's it. And one of the things that really struck me about that was that, 10 years old, you're on this sort of the searching for talent. Basically, that's what the show's about.
Yeah.
And you're getting judged by people I'm forgetting names now, but Anthony.
Yeah, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
John Barrowman, Denise Van Outen. Yeah.
Like mega stars. We're talking about like global stars.
Graham Norton was presenting it.
It's mental. It's like, and the reason I forgot to tell my shirt off that trip, that could have been terrible. I mean, like, I could have
start to the podcast.
Could have injured you.
Running over.
Imagine I just drove right into your legs and that was it. We could start a cripple tag team.
Yeah, sounds good, mate.
Anyway, back to the point. A lot of people talk about that the idea of somebody being in that kind of limelight that early has been sort of a negative thing, having a negative impact. What kind of impact did it have on you?
Man, I see at the time I was you just go with the flow when you're young like that. 10 years old when I auditioned for it. I was on TV every week for 3 months. It was like BBC One prime time. It was like 6 million viewers every week. But when you're a kid, you don't really think of all that stuff. You're just having a good time, and I just got into it by chance. I'd done a couple of shows before it, a couple of musical theatre shows in Bristol, at like the Bristol Hippodrome, which is a big theatre, 2,000 seats, so I was in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And then when my parents found out about this I Do Anything thing, they said I should audition for it. Like thousands and thousands of kids auditioned. And I went up with my mum to audition in London, and there was a bunch of callbacks. I kept going back and back until there was less and less people. And then obviously I was one of 12 boys selected to be on it after like 3,000-4,000 people auditioned for it, I think.
Wow.
But yeah, just if everything happened so fast, it just felt normal. And that was, at the time, that was what I was doing. I was doing musical theatre. I auditioned for it. I got the part, and then I just sort of went with the flow. But I don't really think it had much impact on me. I enjoyed it. It was cool. I was doing something different. All the other kids are at school Monday to Friday, and I'm like in London, living in this mansion. Like I'm on TV every week. So I thought it was cool. I enjoyed it. And if anything, I think it helped me later on in life. Obviously you had to sort of mature at a young age when you're doing something like that, when you're working 5 days a week. So we're rehearsing 5 days a week. We're recording 1 day a week. It's a full-time job when you're 10 years old. So I think it helps you mature. And for me, anyway, I felt it toughens you up later on in life. Like, I think when I was a kid, especially back then, like people online, stuff like that, people were savage. And stuff people would say would be horrible, especially when you're a kid, like reading stuff like this. So I think when you read stuff like that when you're a kid, it sort of hardens you up for future. But I was always confident in myself. Even since I was that age, I never really cared much what people thought about me. I was happy with what I was doing. Like I thought I was doing something cool. So it didn't bother me, but I could see how it would affect some people. But no, I think it set me up for later on in life, and especially for wrestling. I think if I could accredit anything to help me with my wrestling career, it would be to my start in show business and musical theatre, because I was already a performer by the time I started wrestling. I've been doing this since I was 9 years old, so I was used to that. So I think it's, if anything, it's just helped me later on in life in all aspects of life, as well as wrestling.
Well, it's really interesting, and I feel like it could make somebody crumble or it could make them stronger. And it's
for sure.
Made you stronger. You know, is that a route you think will be more common in wrestling? Maybe because there's a lot made out of the idea that, you know, you get people that go into wrestling and they go into acting.
Yeah.
But you actually started really early in the musical theatre.
Yeah.
Which seems like the perfect sort of training for dealing with the audience in wrestling, especially the audience as chaotic as ICW. You know?
Yeah, man, it definitely helps. Like I said, like by the time I started wrestling, I was used to performing in shows in front of 2,000-3,000 people, like regularly. I worked from the age of 9 to 15, sort of like non-stop. I was just working, whether it's like theatre or TV, film, you know, and the theatre's long. So sometimes I'll be doing a show for 6 months, for 9 months. And, you know, it's a full-time job. But yeah, it really helped having that experience in front of crowds, because a lot of people, when they come into wrestling, you know, they've never had that experience. You know, they've just gone to school and this is their first time in front of the crowd. So I felt it just gave me an advantage because I was already used to being in front of a crowd. So I didn't have like nerves as much. You know, I sort of knew what I was expecting with a live crowd, but at the same time, it's also a completely different crowd, you know, wrestling to theatre. Theatre people are nice, you know, they clap when they're told to clap, you know, whereas wrestling's a bit more unpredictable, you know. You know, if you're in a theatre show, you know, like you do it, everyone claps for you. You don't get someone like shouting at you saying you suck or whatever. So it's a completely different experience as well. But
I've been to those ICW shows, man. It's not.
Yeah, man. It's a ruthless fan base, you know. If you mess up, they're going to let you know.
You show any kind of weakness whatsoever.
Yeah. But, you know, when you're a kid in musical theatre, the audience, you know, you get away with it.
Yeah. I just think it's something that, you know, you don't really see many wrestlers have that kind of route. And obviously, I don't think it was necessarily planned for you going to be a wrestler. But that was obviously a passion you've had from a really early age.
Yeah.
And then you decide you could have probably went on to have a really successful career in theatre.
Yeah.
With that really good start, because a lot of people don't get that kind of start. But you've obviously been really used to the spotlight from a really young age. And then at the age of 18, you know, deciding that I'm going to go, I've seen that the wrestling school open in Scotland, I'm going to go down and do this. That's a really bold move to make for an 18-year-old. How did that decision come about, and what did your parents think of it?
Man, it was a crazy decision, but it was a decision I always knew I was going to make. So I never, being in musical theatre, being an actor, that was never my dream. That was never something I came up with. It was just, when I was growing up, I used to love Disney films, stuff like that. And I'd sing along, and my mum and dad noticed that I had a good voice when I was younger. So when the first show I was in, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, came to town at the Bristol Hippodrome, they're like, you should audition for this because you've got a really good voice. I'd never done any training. I'd never gone to any drama school or acting, you know, lessons on the weekend or anything like that. They just knew I had a good voice, so said you should audition for it. And I auditioned for like one of the ensemble parts. So just like one of the kids, the sewer kids they were called. And then I ended up getting the main part, one of the two main kids, Jeremy and Jemima. And I got one of them. And then it just went from there. It just sort of snowballed. I just kept working, kept doing more stuff. I kept getting more jobs and stuff like that. And I get so sucked up in it, but I loved it. I've had such a good time, such a cool childhood, and got to do so many crazy, amazing things that a lot of people never get to do. And I'm doing them when I'm a little kid. But at the same time, I knew that that wasn't what I wanted to. I would have been happy, you know, doing it for the rest of my life, but I still knew that what I really wanted to be was a wrestler. I remember that was the first thing that I ever wanted to be, was a wrestler, and then a spaceman as well, you know. When I was a little kid, I liked wrestling and I liked Star Wars. So I wanted I wanted to go to space, and I wanted to be a wrestler. And then, yeah, it got to a point when I was 17, 18, and acting was going well for me. I was getting jobs. I was getting loads of auditions. I got into some drama schools in London, and I was thinking about going, but I just knew that at the time I got really into wrestling. Like, I'd always been a wrestling fan, but I remember then I got like really hardcore into wrestling.
Was that because of the ICW documentary?
Yeah, that was what got me into independent wrestling. So I was always watched WWE. You know, I'd be watching at that point. I'd be watching Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, all the pay-per-views and that. And then then I found out about independent wrestling. Started off by watching like Ring of Honor, like watching old Ring of Honor matches and stuff like that, and thinking this is crazy. And then I grew up watching TNA, Impact as well. That was on Challenge. But apart from like WWE and TNA, I'd not really seen any other wrestling. And then that was when I watched Insane Fight Club and The British Wrestler. I got into like British independent wrestling and American independent wrestling, and just found out that there was so much more to it than just WWE and TNA. And I thought, wow, this is something maybe I could actually do when I seen about ICW. Because I thought wrestling in the UK was just like, you know, the tribute shows that are at like old sports centers and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, it's The Undertaker and Kane. It's like the people, I thought that's what British wrestling was. And then I seen clips of like ICW and like, oh, this is crazy. You know, this is like proper production value. This is like a massive crowd. Like, this is proper wrestling. And I looked into it and I carried on, became a fan of ICW. And that was when I seen about GPWA, I seen about the training school. And I knew like like I said, I was still doing well in acting. I was still getting loads of auditions. I had like regular work. But I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I knew it was the right time. I had a bit of money saved up from some jobs I'd done. And I knew I wanted to use that to like move to Glasgow and start a new life. Because I loved being in musical theatre and I wouldn't change it for the world, being musical theatre acting. But what I always wanted to do is be a wrestler. And I knew that if I didn't try that, then I'd regret it for the rest of my life. Because I knew that was my dream and I had to pursue it. I felt like I'd had such a good life in theatre, but I felt it was time to move on and I was an adult and sort of do what I wanted to do, you know, and really give it a crack. And I wouldn't change it for the world, you know.
It's amazing because I think there's a lot to be said for, you know, it could have been so easy for you just to be, this is the safe route for me. Because it's hard to get acting jobs. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, some good pals of mine are in that kind of industry and it's hard to get, you know, gigs anywhere and auditions anywhere, never mind getting the level of roles you were getting. So to then say, this isn't really my passion, I want to go for my passion, it's incredible.
I almost felt guilty because I felt like when I was younger, I was a lot more passionate about it. And then as I grew older and I sort of knew that what I wanted to do was wrestling, I felt like I'd lost a passion for it, for acting. And I felt like I wasn't putting in 100%. And I felt like that was selfish because I feel like for a lot of people, that is their dream. Mm-hmm. You know, most of the people in acting, like wrestling, like you find like most wrestlers are people who've dreamed of being wrestlers their whole lives. Similar with acting, you know, most of these guys, they've dreamed of being actors their whole life. And like my heart wasn't really in it. I wasn't giving it 100%. I was, you know, half-assing it. So I felt selfish and I felt like, you know, there's someone out there who wants to be an actor. That's their dream. But my dream, that's being a wrestler. So I had to pursue that because I knew I would regret it if I didn't.
For sure. Right. So fast forward into 2018.
Yeah.
The big debut with, you came in, you know, one thing I really liked about this is I feel like a lot of up and coming wrestlers that end up doing really well debut in a similar sort of way as like an assistant to a wrestler. Like you look at guys like Batista, that whole story built up as he was like sort of Triple H's henchman. And
I just want to stop you and say I like the comparison of Batista, you know, obviously two very similar guys, similar builds, similar physique. So yeah, it's a good comparison.
The first, you know, it's that was the first time that I seen that sort of nailed because that kind of made him a star, but it was you almost didn't see it coming because it was such a gradual build and the fans just started to gravitate towards him. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened with you and the group with Joe Henry. Yeah. You came in as an assistant and it's kind of crazy to think the fact that it was with Ked Evans and Ravy Davey. You know, obviously the three of you have done really well and are now prominent features and, you know, he's the champion and you've just won the Square Go. So it's crazy how factions like that tend to be successful with the right people. And you had a great sort of build up with him in the story. But something that I was quite curious about is as you make that transition, right, you know, wrestlers are quite known for the sort of tough personalities that they don't like people coming in and sort of, I feel like in their minds disrespecting the industry or whatever. And maybe part of my mind was thinking, you know, what are these wrestlers thinking when a guy's coming from the musical theatre and he's saying I want to wrestle for ICW? Like, who the fuck is this guy? You know, was there a bit of animosity there? Was there a bit of, you know, this guy's been well known since he was like 10 years old? And what, you know, did you have any sort of feel of like, I mean, kind of a chip on my shoulder, I got a point to prove, I need to come in here and show these guys that I'm one of them and not an actor?
Yeah, but I don't think I spoke about it much, to be honest, when I first came up. Or if I did, I don't think I spoke about the sort of extent of what I was done as a kid. Like in my head, like to me, I was trying to start a new life and I was sort of trying to start fresh. So yeah, I didn't really talk about it much at first until I like became really good friends with people, and then I'd sort of reveal more to them about like what I'd done. Because I'd tell people I did acting as a kid, but I don't really think people knew the extent of it. And then as I got closer with people, I'd been here for a bit longer, I'd open up and sort of tell them the extent of what I'd done, and people be like, "Oh, that's crazy! I didn't realize, you know, that was what you did when you were a kid." But no, like I think, if anything, wrestling as a whole, the wrestling community is one of the most accepting communities there is. So there wasn't never any issues like that at all. No. I had a chip on my shoulder, if anything, because I'd moved here from England, so I felt like I needed to prove something. I'd left everything behind. I'd moved here, just on a whim. So I felt that's what I had to prove, was that I was taking this seriously. But no, at the start I didn't mention it much, because I wanted to sort of keep that part of my life separate. I was sort of trying to build a new life. But
exactly, somebody would have sandbagged you for
but now I love talking about it, man. I think when I do talk about it, whether that be fans or like fellow wrestlers, they find it interesting. When they hear stuff I've done, they're like, "Oh, that's crazy."
No, it's crazy just because it's such a. I mean, in a lot of ways, it really fits the transition. But you got a really good opportunity to work with a guy like Joe, and that was sort of your first big feud.
Yeah.
Like, you obviously been in big crowds, but how did it take you long to adjust? How did you feel getting involved in that with somebody who was already a well-established name, and you must have known going into this is going to build up to this, and I'm going to have a chance. But like, what how did the nerves compare to doing a musical theatre performance, for example?
Yeah, different. I'd say if anything, I got more nervous wrestling. For a number of reasons. First of all, I was older, and when you're sort of older, you're an adult, you've matured a bit. Things are different, and you do get a bit more nervous because you're more worried about what people think of you as an adult. Whereas when I was a kid, I don't remember ever getting nervous. Even my first ever show, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I remember the first night thinking I was gonna be nervous. I wasn't really nervous, man. Like I always felt natural going out there, and I never felt the nerves. It wasn't only till I was an adult because you're sort of a bit more aware. Like, and I was nervous, especially with ICW. But coming in, I came in like the best position. Me and Joe, it was the perfect storyline for me to get involved with straight away. Because at the time, I'd only been wrestling maybe a year and a half, 2 years. So I wasn't in a position to be like an active wrestler on the ICW roster. But they gave me the opportunity to be a character alongside Joe to sort of add to his character, basically. And it was perfect because I got to watch every week from the sidelines. Every match Joe did, I was ringside. Every backstage promo did, I was standing next to him. So everything he did, I copied. I picked up as I go on. It was like I was learning on the job. And it was so perfect because that first year and a half, apart from like a handful of like tag matches that me and Joe did, which are comedy matches, where I wasn't really doing anything. Apart from that, I hadn't wrestled at all. I was just with Joe. But having that time to grow and to learn and to just know what it's like to be in front of a wrestling crowd before I actually got to the wrestling side of things. And when I got to the wrestling side of things, it was so much more natural and so much more comfortable because I'd already been a character in front of the fans for over a year. And I'd already been in front of the ICW like audience and the wrestling audience for over a year. So it helped me a lot when, I eventually started wrestling more, doing singles competition, and then coming like an active wrestler when I had the feud with Joe. Obviously after that, I became like a full-time active member of the roster. And because of what I had with Joe, I felt so ready for that when it came. If it was a year earlier or if I didn't get to have that time with Joe, I would have maybe not felt the same. If I was sort of being thrust into a match, I would have been nervous. I would have not been in front of that crowd before. And it can be intimidating, like coming into a big company like that. So I think with Joe, it was just perfect and it helped me so much. And I credit that time with Joe when I wasn't wrestling, really to my success in ICW, because that was how I managed to build a character. I wasn't wrestling in the ring, but I had all this time on screen, in matches, in promos, and that's how I built this character. So by the time I started wrestling, I was already a character that people knew and cared about.
It seems like a tried and trusted formula to make a star, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because you can train train wrestling moves and cut promos and things like that, but actually being there and seeing somebody doing it at the kind of top level of their game, which Joe was, you can't really buy that anywhere else. It's sort of like a personal, it's like work experience.
Yeah.
Except you're getting it from a really good level. And, I think that there's a lot of wrestlers are sort of thrown into things where you've obviously, and the fact you're only 24.
Yeah.
It's like, that's mental with me, and the kind of ICW sort of, they're not done yet by any means, but sort of originals, if you like the Grados and Jack Jessers of the world, sort of build this brand. And then you're coming through and developing into this, like, it was almost like you and Kez and guys like that were the next generation to come up. And guys like Grado and that had done so well. I've always been curious as a fan, like, the transition in the locker room and how things have developed from when you first started to now. What kind of changes have you seen? And do you feel like there was like a kind of hunger, and because as a fan watching it, you feel like you can see a real determination from guys like yourself in case they want to show that they can fill the boots of guys like Grado. Because I'm sure every time you talk about ICW, it's like, oh, that guy, that's what that guy Grado's from.
Yeah, obviously I get that.
And you want it to be like, this is where that guy Leyton Buzzard's from.
Yeah.
You know, so what was it feeling like in the locker room in that time?
Man, it was two completely different locker rooms now. Really the only sort of people still left from that the locker room 2 years ago was BT Gunn, Jack Jester, and then the sort of newer guys coming through at the time. So me, Kez Evans, Ravy Davey, Stevie James. So we were sort of that in-between batch. Now you've got all these new guys who just came into ICW in the tape-ins and stuff. But me and Davey and Kez, we were sort of this in-between generation, like in between sort of the old ICW originals, and then obviously now we've got this completely new, the network era. We've got this sort of
guys
completely
like
new
Jason
roster.
Reed,
Yeah, guys like Jason Reed coming through, young teams, stuff like that. Whereas me, Davey, and Kez, we were sort of in the middle of all this. So we've been part of both of the locker rooms. But to me, I love the new locker room, and I think there's this determination among everyone here to like put on the best product we can. Because if anything, if now we've got the biggest audience that we've ever had, we're broadcasting the WWE Network every week, and to millions of homes. So now I think there's more pressure than ever to put on the best product we can. And we've got a great new roster, and all the guys are coming through, and it's really shaping through into a roster. And we've all got this sort of mindset that we're trying to rebuild, Grado, Jack Jester, all these people, they all started somewhere, and built ICW to the company it was. And now, obviously, so much has changed in the wrestling landscape with major wrestling companies opening up, your AEWs, obviously in the UK, we've got NXT UK. So many of these guys and so many of these companies in the UK, these promotions, that the locker rooms, if you look at them now to 2-3 years ago, are completely different rosters. So I think it's just a rebuild. That's the sort of mindset this new roster's got, this new locker room is just to give everything we can every week, get people coming to ICW, get new fans coming to ICW, get old fans coming to ICW, just showing everyone like the product that we're trying to portray is it's still an amazing wrestling product, and everyone's giving it their all. And like I said, I think we're rebuilding, and we're going to build ICW to its former heights.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. From what I've seen, the talent is off the charts for sure.
Yeah,
and you can definitely see there's like connection as a group, and that everybody's working. You're all working the same shows, trying to help each other.
Yeah,
and there seems to be like that real sort of. I think the old school wrestling mentality, years gone by in WWE and different promotions like that, has been like, I need to step on you to get to this spot, and I don't really feel that with this, with this current crop of guys. And,
yeah,
there seems to be like, I don't, it's not like nobody's, trying to step on each other, all trying to help out.
Yeah,
and it's been really cool as a fan who's obviously started my own training, and you can kind of get a glimpse into how hard everybody's working, and I think that it's became a lot more athletic now than maybe it was when we were watching it back in like the Attitude Era. I feel like it seems like there's more of an emphasis on the actual bell-to-bell work.
For sure, man. It's a completely different type of wrestling. But yeah, no, you said it. It really is like this sort of, rather than stepping on everyone, it's like a team atmosphere we've got, and everyone feels blessed that we've got this great position we're in, where we're broadcast on the WWE Network every week. Like, it's really crazy to think about it. Like, if you had said this to a wrestling fan 5-6 years ago, that in a few years' time, ICW, an independent wrestling company from Glasgow, is going to be like streaming every week on the WWE Network, you'd call them crazy. You'd be like, yeah, that's not going to happen in a million years, is it? So the fact this is even happening is so crazy, and so crazy to think about. But yeah, it's just such a good platform for wrestlers to show themselves. And I think there's just this great mentality when we're all just trying to put on the best product we can, and make the product the best it can be.
Yeah, because you talked about how when you were younger that you would see kind of WWE and TNA, and I think there's like that kind of casual fan sort of thing where they have this perception of what wrestling is. And I went to my first sort of ICW shows last year, and I've been to Aaron Gurder's shows as well. And people don't actually realise how good these wrestling matches are. I was blown away by every match from the first match to the last. All of you are really, really good, and
yeah.
And I don't think you could have said that about the Indies 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, you know, it is a completely different scene. But there's so much talent now. And like I said, the shows ICW's been putting on have been great, and it's felt amazing to be back, especially just to be back. Obviously, we went through the lockdown era, and just to have the fans back has made such an amazing difference. Like the last few big shows we've ran, barred the most recent one, man, I had so much fun at that. Like being back at the garage, sold out at the garage, the fans went crazy. The garage is like, to me, that's ICW's home, so it felt so good to be back at the garage. Before that, the Square Go, obviously, SWG3, such a great venue. And then obviously the Barras before, Fear and Loathing, my first time wrestling in the Barrowlands. To have these big shows coming back, Shugs coming up as well. It's felt amazing, and just having the fans back has been such a difference. And yeah, I think the product we're putting on is amazing. And all the guys, you know, they're putting in a graft and they're wanting to put on the best show possible for all the fans.
Yeah, I always think that's an important thing to point out, just because, you know, fans have a perception of wrestling, and it's important to be like, you know, these guys are grafting, these men and women are grafting every day to get better and put on the best show they can. And, you know, it must have been particularly strange for you not to have the crowd there, just because you've had a crowd your whole life pretty much.
Yeah.
So, like, did you have to sort of adjust your mindset for that time period?
Yeah, it was different. It was different. I think I was one of the few people that enjoyed it. I quite liked it with no fans, because I felt like I was used to that, because it was like acting. You know, there was no fans there, but the cameras are rolling, and you know, rather than when you're wrestling in front of the fans, you're going to be wrestling to the fans. You're going to be like playing to the fans. But when you're wrestling and it's just a camera, you're playing to the camera. So to me, that was like acting, because everything I'm doing to the camera, and I was able to engage more because I wasn't focusing on a crowd that wasn't there. You know, it was all my focus was on the camera. So I really enjoyed it, and I felt that it really helped me add like another layer to my character. And having all these amazing matches, some of my best matches I've ever had, I would say, like some of my best feuds were in front of no fans. So I actually, you know, really enjoyed it at the time. But, you know, I wouldn't want to go back to it. I enjoyed it at the time, and I was very grateful that when all this crazy stuff was going on in the world, I was still allowed to do what I love, and I was still allowed to wrestle and be on the WWE Network every week. So yeah, it was crazy. But obviously now we've got the fans back. You know, I wouldn't go back to it now. Like, the fans do make the show. At the end of the day, the fans are a part of the show. I enjoyed it whilst we were doing it, and it was good fun, but wrestling without the fans, it's not really wrestling, you know, to me. I think the fans, the audience, they're just a bigger part of the show as the wrestlers are, or as anyone is.
For sure. I mean, I was watching, because I knew we'd be talking about wrestling, so I found myself watching some old stuff, and Eddie Guerrero, man, I was watching that Addiction promo.
Yeah.
Such a good.
Yeah,
so
man,
good.
he's one of the best.
He's so good. He should be in the conversation for GOAT, man.
For a lot of people he is.
Unreal.
You know?
And you forget these things, but guys like that paved the way for guys like yourself, and it's just
the Shug guy, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, all these guys coming through.
Mysterio.
Man. Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know if you've seen the other day on. I just popped up on my Twitter. It was a clip from Raw, and Rey Mysterio did the tribute to Eddie. He did the he did the chair, took the bump. Finn had the chair, he turned around. Oh, DQ. I thought that was awesome.
That is something that I have to do in my life.
Yeah. Nah, it's a great spot.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah, like you said, these guys paved the way for guys like us to come through.
So, you know, your ICW journey continued on winning the G division. Is that, am I saying that?
Zero G division?
Zero G
title.
Which, for context for your casual fans, is like the ICW equivalent of the Intercontinental belt or the US belt type thing.
Yeah.
And you beat a really good wrestler in, was it Josh?
Liam Thompson.
Oh, Liam Thompson.
LT. Yeah,
I'm getting him mixed
bad
up.
boy.
Liam Thompson, who had been on a pretty big run at the time, so it was quite a big rub for you to get that win.
Yeah.
How did it feel to get your first championship belt in ICW?
Man, it was awesome. When I first moved up to Scotland, that was my goal. Like my long-term goal was to be Zero G champion. Because when I got into ICW and I started watching the fight clubs, I remember one of the first matches I remember watching and thinking, man, this is crazy. Like, this is where I want to be. Was Kenny Williams versus Noam Dar. And I remember watching this and all these Zero G division matches. I'm thinking, this is crazy. I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, oh man, these guys are probably the same height as me. You know, they're not much bigger than me. Obviously at the time I was, tiny, so they're bigger than me. But I'm thinking height-wise, like I could, if I put in some size, I could be like these guys here. So that's for me when I moved up here, being a smaller guy. That was my goal, was to win the Zero G championship. So to win that, I felt like I'd, in a way, accomplished what I moved here to do, and it was a crazy experience. And to wrestle Liam Thompson, he's one of my favorite people to wrestle. One of my favorite opponents. He's one of the best wrestlers in Scotland. I hope he comes back soon. But we had this match at an ICW show in the Asylum. Back then it was called Gonzo. It was the first Gonzo show, and me and Liam Thompson were in the main event for the ICW 0G title. It was my first time wrestling for the championship. I just beat Joe Hendry and James Storm at Shugs House Party. So I was on a roll, and this was it, my shot for the 0G title. And we went nearly 25, nearly 30 minutes. It was crazy. It was the longest match I'd ever wrestled at that point. We just kept going. And I didn't win. Liam won the match. He won the 0G title. That was it. And then I carried on my pursuit to win it. And eventually I won a number one contendership match to wrestle Liam Thompson at the Square Go for the ICW title, the 0G title. But then in a shock twist on that same episode that I won the number one contendership, Liam at the time had been doing a 0G open challenge every week. So everyone thought I was wrestling him at Square Go for the title. But he did the open challenge later on in the same show that I became number one contender, and I accepted the open challenge. I came out, I said, I'm not waiting till the Square Go. I'm doing it now. I'm cashing it in now at the garage. It was the last show before Christmas. It was the last show before Christmas, the last one of the year.
Was that the Via Low Blow?
Yeah, so December, and that was it. It was
come back here, man.
Shock down. So I came out, I accepted the open challenge, even though I'd already won the number one contendership. Yeah. We had a great match, one of my favorite matches, and then I couldn't get the job done. I hit him with everything I could. I hit him with a 450 splash, and he kicked out. The first and only person to kick out at the time.
I'll be the second.
At the time, he was the first person who'd ever kicked out the 450. Or no, one more. Joe did at Shugs House Party. But that was it. So he was number 2. And he kicked out. I didn't know what to do. So yeah, I hit him with a low blow, and that was the turn, the gradual turn into the dark, sinister Leyton Buzzard that people came to know in lockdown.
And it's really impressive how you've been able to sort of be really in tune with the audience in terms of what they are expecting from you. But that title, for me, for you, it must have been like, as a fan, I'm watching it and I'm going, this is like the title they give to the guy they think can go the best.
Yeah.
Like if we need to put on a great match that's in a crowd home happy, we're going to give you this belt to do that.
Yeah.
It was sort of the workhorse belt, if you like. And I think that to get that, given it was held, get big guys like Noam Dar and things like that, was a big vote of confidence in you.
Man, for sure. And what was a really cool moment for me, what I got to do when I was 0G champion, is one of my defenses was actually it was the next Gonzo show, and it was actually the main event, and I wrestled Kenny Williams, was the challenger for my 0G championship in the main event.
Wow.
And I successfully defended the title against Kenny in the main event of this show. And he was already in NXT UK at this point, and I thought it was so cool because, like I said, that was one of the reasons I moved up here to try and win the 0G championship, because I seen the matches with Kenny and Noam, obviously when Kenny was 0G champ. So to then be the champion and have Kenny Williams as like the challenger to my 0G title, that was a really cool moment.
How quickly do you go from I've accomplished this, that's amazing, and then like what's the transition like in your mind to go, I've accomplished my goal, and then like a week later you're thinking, now I'd be ICW World Champion?
Yeah.
Like, is that like, how quickly does your mind go to that place of like, okay, what's next? Yeah.
Oh, well, I've always been like that. I've always been like, I set myself a goal, and then as soon as I accomplish that goal, it's always what's next. I've since I was a little kid, since I was 9 years old, like since I started in this game, since I started with the musical theatre and the acting, I've always thought, what's next? I've never been satisfied. So I won the 0G championship, and then I lost it back to Liam Thompson at the Square Go, 2020. And then less than a month later, we were in lockdown. So I never got my rematch. I was scheduled to get my rematch for the 0G title, hopefully win it back. I think I would have won it back. But then, less than a month after I lost it, obviously we went into complete global shutdown. And then when we started doing the tapings, and obviously the NXT UK guys, then they weren't allowed to do the ICW tapings because they were doing the NXT UK tapings. And obviously at the time it was all to do with bubbles. So they were all in like their bubbles and they weren't allowed to leave that. And we were all our bubbles. Like we'd have specific groups of people that we would film with. So, and you're only allowed to film with a certain amount of people at the time. So the NXT UK guys weren't allowed to like mix outside of NXT UK, and vice versa for ICW. You know, we had to stay within ICW, within these groups, because obviously the laws were very strict and it had to be done. Everything had to be done a certain way. But then what it meant is like half of the ICW roster was basically gone, if not more. So when we came back for these tapings, it was only, like I said, guys like myself, Kez Evans, Ravy Davey, and then as the newer guys, and then the only real people at the time who weren't signed, we still had to wrestle: BT Gunn, Stevie Boy, Jack Jester. So like I said, we had that key group of people, but then we needed to find like a whole new roster of people to come in and wrestle for ICW. So that was when sort of all the new guys started coming in, and we had this sort of chance to build a new roster. And I think we came up with something really special. And like where we are now compared to where we were, you know, at the start of those tapings and how we've come so far, it's really, really cool to see the journey.
You know, in wrestling terms, taking out the tragic of the whole world event, it's probably a blessing in disguise, because you've been able to grow this new crop of talent.
Yeah, and I felt that's really when I started thinking about the World Heavyweight Championship, was when we came back from lockdown. Obviously, before I was more like a mid-tier guy, but I was like at the top. Like I said, I won the Zero G Championship, so I was well on my way, but I was still sort of, you know, sticking with the Zero G. I was sort of in that division there. But then when the lockdown happened and we were doing these tapings, I then saw this opening to reinvent myself and to become a top guy, and you know, which is always what I envisioned myself as being since I was a little kid. Like when you grow up, you want to be the best. That's what you want to be. Like, obviously, you want to be Intercontinental Champion, but really, you want to be WWE Champion, don't you? You want to be World Heavyweight Champion. You want to be the main guy. So when I had all this extra time, I was then positioned as one of the top guys, and I took the ball and I ran with it, you know, and I reinvented myself. You know, I physically, mentally, I you know, really tapped into a new side of myself and started showing to people in ICW and to the fans watching that I could be a main event level talent, you know, which is what I believed I was. And lockdown gave me the platform to do that. You know, I main evented more shows than anyone in the lockdown era on the ICW Fight Club tapings. Week after week, I'm putting on 20-minute plus main events with BT Gunn, Andy Wild. I'm doing 60-minute Ironman matches, you know, like, yeah. I was going to show everyone that, you know, I'm the next guy. That I'm the top guy in this company, the top guy in Scottish wrestling. And I believe that's what I've done. That's what I've shown everyone. And I'm just one step away, baby. You know, I've got the briefcase. I've got my shot. Well, now it's up to me. You know, I get to choose when.
That does seem to be the opinion. Yeah. You know, a lot of people, when I said that you were coming on, have said to me, you know, that this guy's the best in Scotland. And it must be a really surreal thing to have people, you know, have your colleagues say that about you and actually believe that you are the best. And you took the ball and ran it, but you talked about your improvement, like physically in your own personal journey. Like, you know, doing wrestling and living wrestling is one thing. Yeah. But the commitment to have to improve yourself, like, I think a lot of people don't necessarily realise what's the level of work ethic that's required from the jump of, if you want to show them you can be a main event guy, you know, you dedicate, you've posted it on Instagram how you've improved physically, you've been working and training hard. And obviously during that period of the pandemic, it was like, that kind of maybe give you the time and to plan out how you were going to do this. But in terms of the actual mental toughness for in your mind, like, was there a moment where you were like, right, I'm going to dedicate myself in the gym, and because everyone always said it's the work that people don't see that makes you a main eventer. You don't just turn up one day and you can wrestle 20-minute matches. Yeah. You know, I've been in the ring a little bit, and I can tell you this right now, the cardio you need for that stuff is unreal. Yeah. Like, I've done 1,000 in a month for charity, like, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, doing 1,000 kilometers in 30 days, right? But see, like a half an hour, like, session in the ring, like, you're taking bumps and you're running a bit. Yeah. Well, not running a bit, but, you know, crawling a bit.
Not many people can. You know, it's a specific skill to wrestle these long matches, and it's really something that I feel like you should be getting more credit for as wrestlers as a whole. It's incredible stamina that's required, but, you know, a lot of guys maybe, you know, they'll work out too much and
there was a great quote from Batista that Gavin mentioned earlier. You know, very much like as we said.
Yeah. Such similar guys, obviously.
Exactly. You know, if you do half as well as him, man, you'll be doing all right.
I'll be happy with that.
But he was saying about how, you know, strength is like longness, in the sense that if you just lift weights and you don't get, basically he was saying you don't get strong by lifting weights, you get strong by stretching.
Yeah.
All you're doing is get stiff. And, you know, you see a lot of wrestlers that, because now it's such an athletic sport, it's, you know, if you go and have a match that doesn't have a thing from the top rope, or doesn't have a, you know, 450 smash, it's like, oh, why didn't, you know, that was kind of boring, that kind of match. It's like, you can't really have those sort of middle of the ring, I'll hit you and you hit me and we'll kind of go 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
It needs to be crazy. And I always thought in my head, like, you know, you're going to have, there's going to be like a spring, or there's going to be like things you can use to help you do this, but it's pure athleticism.
Yeah.
And so, how difficult was it for you as you're realising, so I want to progress, I want to be a main eventer, but how do I find a balance between working out the right way to get to that level? Like, what were the steps for you if I figure out the right routine for you to get to where you want it to be?
Well, I think training wise, I would say it was in lockdown when that sort of switch really changed for me. And it was when I found out through ICW that these tapings were happening, and we maybe got told 2-3 months before it. And then just a couple of weeks after, the gyms reopened in Scotland. Obviously everything had been shut for 6 months. So everyone doing these crappy home workouts, you know, and, you know, obviously everyone got sloppy and everyone's been sitting on the sofa for the last 6 months, playing video games and eating food, because you can't leave the house. You couldn't do anything, you know, and everyone was in the same boat. But when the gyms opened back up and I got told these tapings are happening, I was like, that's it. Like, I'm going to show everyone that I'm the best, and that I can be the best, and that I can be that guy. That I've been the 0G champion, but now I want to show people that I could be the top guy in the company, you know, with or without the title. It was, to me, it wasn't so much about being world heavyweight champion. It was about showing that I was one of the top wrestlers in the company and one of the people that was going to carry this company going forwards. Sorry, just lost my train of thought there. So yeah, so that was training wise. That was what I was saying. Yeah. So training wise, that was when it changed for me, because I didn't have anything else on. You know, there wasn't any other shows. It wasn't like I was wrestling every weekend. All there was these tapings and nothing else. So I was going to the gym every day. Like, I remember I went to the gym for like 3 months straight, and I didn't have like one rest day. Wow. I remember I had this calendar with all these tick boxes. I drew out this calendar and I ticked it off every time I went to the gym, and I did like a whole 3 months, like without missing the gym once. I was like, right, this is what I'm going to do. So I just dedicated my life to going to the gym and training. So when I came back, I was going to be the best wrestler I could be. At the time, Wolfgang had Iron Girders gym, which luckily is my local gym. I live 5 minutes away from the gym. He had it before lockdown, but it was just the gym. And then in lockdown was when he bought the wrestling ring. So then obviously I had the ring at Girders to use. So I was training twice a day. So I was getting up in the morning, I was having breakfast, I was going to Iron Girders and I was training in the ring. And then I was coming back home, I was making my food, I was going to work, because at the time I was working a job as well, because, you know, it's the pandemic, you've got to make money. And then I was going to the gym after work as well for 2-3 hours to train strength and conditioning, weight training. And I'm doing that every day for 3 months, twice a day. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to give everything so that when I come back, I'm given the best possible version of myself. We're being given this big platform to wrestle on the WWE network, and I'm going to make the most of it. You know, I'm going to show everyone that's watching around the world that, you know, I'm Leyton Buzzard and I'm here. You know, this is what I do, and I'm going to be the top guy in this company.
It's an incredible work ethic, mate, because I love going to the gym, and during lockdown I had a similar sort of thing where I was like, get my own home workout stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to just get in here and, you know, become the best version of myself, basically, become as fit as I can be. But to go to the gym twice a day in that level, and then you're also adding in being in the ring as well, which isn't, you know, there's a lot of aches and pains just from doing wrestling training on its own. Yeah. Never mind doing 2 workouts as well as that, as well as working a job. So, you know, that's a really important part of the story for me, because, you know, people think they just watch the shows and think one day you turned up and win the square go. It doesn't work like that. No. You put in a graft, and that's where it is a sport, because the hardest workers get the best spots.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
From the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep, my life is wrestling. I get up, I have breakfast straight away. I have 6 meals every day. I train at the gym every day. Like this is what I do. This is what I dedicate my life to, and I wouldn't change that. But you know, it is like that's what they said. That's what. Well, the work outside of wrestling that people don't see, you know, that's what splits people apart. You know, that's what makes the difference.
Exactly. I think it was important to talk about your own personal journey there.
Yeah.
And there was a specific moment for me when I watched you and thought, this guy's going to be a star. And it was one of the ICW tapings late last year, with the building up to the Square Go, and you're coming out to talk about being part of the Square Go.
Yeah.
And you know, I was in that crowd, and that crowd that night was a lot of
the promo, right? When I was talking about winning the Square Go. Yeah.
There was a very hostile crowd that night. I remember that. In terms of they weren't very giving.
Yeah.
And you know, I've not been to many ICW shows just out of purely I didn't know Dallas at the time, and I kind of felt scared because I didn't know if the wheelchairs could get in and such like that. But once I got to know Dallas, he invited me to the shows and things like that, and that was been a lot of fun. But you came out, you're talking to the crowd, and it's like you kind of finish what you're saying, and I know I could feel, and I could feel that you could feel that the crowd weren't quite responding the way that you know you'd want them to, and because you could see that you were sort of finished, and I could see that you were not happy with how it went. And then you just took the microphone back up, and for like 5 minutes just went on this incredible rant about how you're the best wrestler and you're going to win the Square Go. But it wasn't what you were saying, it was how you were saying it.
Yeah.
It was like, it was from your soul. It was like you could feel the work, you know, the work that you just described there, you could feel it coming through from you.
Yeah.
And that's what wrestling's all about. So I didn't know exactly the amount of work you put in, but I knew when I heard that, how much effort that you were doing, because only guys that are putting in that are dedicating their life to it, can talk like that.
Yeah.
And see, when you did that, I thought that was incredible, because the crowd got right behind. Like by the end of it, they were like, "Leyton Buzzard, man."
Yeah, well, that's what it was in my head. That was the last show before the Square Go.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was in this sort of transition of my character when it was just happening naturally. Like more and more people were starting to cheer me again. And I always had this, even when I was obviously throughout lockdown, throughout the tapings as a heel, as a top heel in the company, myself, Kez Evans, you know, like we were really sort of trying to be the top guys in the company, you know, because there was that spot was open. But then when the fans came back, you know, you tend to find that fans appreciate good work. So I've been portraying this heel character for a while now, but then the fans, they appreciate that, and they appreciate the hard work I've put in, even though I'm a bad guy and I'm doing horrible things and I'm, you know, kicking guys in the balls and raking eyes and raking backs, you know, fans, they appreciate hard work. So naturally more and more, I always had the group of people who cheered me anyway. Like you find when you've been doing it for a while, like you have fans. So even if you're a heel, even if you're a babyface, those fans are going to cheer you anyway. But when the fans came back to the tapings, naturally more and more fans started cheering me. But when the Square Go was about to happen, but I still knew that a lot of fans were on the edge. It was still sort of 50-50. It's like I had my group of loyal fans that had, you know, followed my journey from when I was with Joe Hendry. So they're going to cheer me no matter what, you know, whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy. But then I had this sort of new group of fans, like who got into it through the tapings and started coming to the Asylum tapings, and they were sort of still on the fence about me because I was still being displayed as a good guy, kicking guys in the balls and all this. And I knew this was my last chance to win over the fans, all the fans before the Square Go. You know, I said to myself, in my head, you know, I walked in that promo as a heel. I said, said to myself, I'm going to be a baby face by the end of this promo. I just said it. I was walking out there. I was like, right, it's 50-50 now. Square Goes next week. I need to have everyone 100% behind me. I said, by the end of this promo, I'm going to be a face. And I was. Like I said, I came back. Yeah, maybe didn't go the way I wanted. I said, fuck this, man. I'm coming back. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear. I said,
you can.
Okay, right, cool. I was like that. I came back, I grabbed the microphone, I said, cut the music. And, you know, I didn't plan any of that promo. I just said what came to me. And I find that with a lot of my promos. I just spoke true from the heart. And by the end of that promo, everyone was chanting Leyton Buzzards. And everyone was ready for me to win the Square Go.
you could tell that it came out. None of that was. It was all from your heart, because it was this natural energy in the room. Where I was like, this guy's winning the square goal.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's definitely winning the square goal.
You believe something enough, it'll happen, you know?
Yeah.
And I needed everyone in there to believe that I was winning the square go. So to me, I have to believe that I'm winning the square go. And if I believe that I'm winning the square go, they're going to believe me too. And I think that's why they did. And that's why people believed I could do it, because I had so much passion that they said, you know what? This guy can win the square go.
But that's the difference between the guys that kind of stay in maybe the mid card and get to the main event. Is a lot of guys would have cut, because the promo that you cut was a good promo up until that point.
Yeah.
The crowd just weren't in the mood to listen to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would have just been like, okay, it wasn't my best, I'll just leave it, you know. But you showed that you wanted it now, not later.
Yeah.
And it was really cool with a fan that I obviously I've been watching wrestling a long time, and I'm very much into just the detail of everything, and I could tell. I was like, this guy is good, and he's going to win that. He's going to win the square go.
If you watch the square go, man, you wouldn't be able to tell that the week before I was a heel.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's what a true, you know, top main eventer can do. Like perfect example we talked about, like guys like Eddie Guerrero could despise him 1 minute and love him the next. Yeah. It was like, and
guys like that, they're who I base my career off. Guys, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, these guys that can reinvent themselves at any moment. They can be whatever you need them to be. They're a chameleon, you know. Like Chris Jericho can be any character in the world and he'll make it work. You know, like the amount of times he's reinvented himself every time has been a success.
Crazy,
you can be the most hated person on the roster. He can be the most loved person on the roster, and he chooses when and how. You know, it's in the palm of his hand. You know, to have that control over the audience has always been a goal of mine. And like I say, guys like Eddie and Chris Jericho, to me, they're the best at this. You know.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you're talking about Chris Jericho. I was speaking about this the other night. Like, every time you think he's done, he does something else.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the best things he said I've read was that he was saying he changes it before it becomes stale.
Yeah.
And you seem to be really on the pulse of. But the only reason, the biggest reason why you're able to do that, though, is because you put in that work, you know, that nobody sees.
Yeah.
For that 3 to 6 months where the world was going to shit and you were just in there grafting. Because it's you know, I've recently had a lot of health problems last year, and this is me kind of getting back into my sort of the way I want to be, because I'm also on this journey where I want to be involved in wrestling, and it's when you're doing these workouts and you're going really intense and everything's sweaty, you realize like these moments where you're like, oh, I don't want to do the next 3 sets. I've done loads of sets. I could just leave these next 3 sets.
Yeah.
But it's like the wee decisions to do those things and then leaving the gym with nothing left is what gets you to that stage where you're like, I'm going to take this microphone and show this crowd.
Man, people see pictures of you at the gym and stuff, and they presume, oh, he must love going to the gym, you know. Like, they see pictures of you like, he must love it. That's why he's at the gym, man. Mate, 9 times out of 10, I hate going to the gym, you know. Like,
it's not fun.
But it's just not, you know. I'd much rather be sitting at home eating junk food, watching Stranger Things, but you know, I'm not. If I want to be the best, I've got to train at the best. I've got to live like the best. I've got to be the best. So yeah, like people, it's easy to think. You see pictures of people training at the gym and all that. They put pictures up all the time. Think, oh, he must love going to the gym. You know, I don't want to be at the gym. I have to. You know, and to be the best, you do have to. You need to be able to go to the gym when you don't want to go to the gym. You know, it's easy to go to the gym if you want to. You know, if you're buzzing about going to the gym, you're thinking, oh yeah, I can't wait to go to the gym. I can't wait to go and train. And that's easy. You know, what's not easy is, you know, when you've got to be up at a stupid time so you can go to the gym before work and you don't want to go to the gym, or you got to get up and you feel tired and you feel run down and you still got to go to the gym. You know, that's when it's, to me, that's when it's important. Anyone can do something they enjoy doing, but forcing yourself to do something that you don't enjoy and forcing yourself to do something that you don't want to do, that's what sets people apart.
100%. I mean, that the days that you don't feel like it are the days that make you a champion. Yeah. And you know, you could have all these different things and different talents, but it comes down to the hard work and the graft, and it's amazing to see how well you've done.
Thank you, man.
I think I've kissed your ass enough today. Yeah. See, moving on to current events, right? I think this is what people are, you know, they're like, when is he going to talk about this? That's coming up here, right? But you've worked your arse off. You're considered one of the best, and now, you know, you've won the belt. You've got to square go. And now you're going to fight in the King of Insanity match against one of the best also in Scotland, BT Gunn, who's been there, done it. You know, he's a veteran of the game, and see the Kings, the Tanya matches, right? You know, it's a different kind of thing, and I was actually have been kind of writing promos and things for myself.
Yeah.
You know, for the idea of what would I want to do if I was going to be doing this, and one of the things was like the idea that, like, you know, I'm in a wheelchair, right? So people are like, "How's this guy going to have a wrestling match if he can't walk or run?"
Yeah.
And my whole ethos is that, like, if you can't run away from something, you need to just stay and fight.
Yeah, man, there's a guy I seen online, right? He's a wrestler. He's got no legs, okay? And he's a professional wrestler. You know, Zach Gowan had one leg, you know. You got two legs. So this guy's got no legs and he's made it. So I believe, you know, if like you said, it's about work ethic, you know. And if you put in that work, fucking, no matter if you're in a chair or not, you know, that work's going to shine through. And I've seen you working at the gym with Wolfgang. You know, I've been in for sessions when you've been training with Wolfgang, man. So big respect to you to get in there. You know, I respect anyone that takes that leap and actually steps into the ring. You know, it's a cool thing to do.
It's like, we'll come back to that in a moment, right? But the point is, it's like you realise how far are you willing to go. And a King of Sanity match is people always talk about matches that change your career. Like, every time a Hell in a Cell's coming down, everyone was like, they won't be the same when they come out here.
Yeah.
Do you get kind of nerves like that when you go into a match like this? Is it like, this is going to be brutal?
For sure, man. Like, the way I see it is what I was saying a minute ago, right? What sets people apart. Anyone can do something they enjoy doing. But putting yourself outside your comfort zone and doing something you don't want to do, that's what sets people apart. That's what I said when it's important with training. You go to the gym. Anyone can go to the gym when they don't want to. But forcing yourself to go. And anyone can go to the gym when they do want to. But forcing yourself to go when you don't, that's what sets people apart. So, did I ever see myself doing a death match? No. Like, you know, did anyone else see me doing a death match? That little kid from Bristol who started in ICW, 18 years old, 120 pounds, you know, this little kid. And I think you're going to see him in the main event at Shugs House Party in a death match? No. But to me, the reason I have to do it is because I don't want to do it. You know, I don't want to do a King of Insanity match, but I feel like I have to prove myself. And especially with everything that's happened with me and BT Gunn, he's one of my greatest rivals, you know, up there. I'd say BT Gunn, Andy Wilde, Liam Thompson, you know, Kez Evans. These guys are really my sort of, my top rivals. And with BT Gunn, especially over the last year throughout lockdown, we had this 6-month feud that no one saw. You know, they saw it online, but it was in front of no one. It's arguably my greatest feud. With that, Joe Hendry, you know, but this one, the thing with Joe, that was in front of the fans. Mm-hmm. Whereas this feud I had with BT was in front of no one. So it was at the taping, so it was completely different. The first match we had was a tournament match in the Lionheart League. So that was just a traditional rules wrestling match. That wasn't ICW rules. After that, we had ICW rules match. And then after that, we went on to have the steel cage match at Bard. So we were already doing like normal matches, insane matches, steel cage matches. And then 3-4 weeks ago, main event at Fight Club. Wasn't main event. But on the Fight Club, we went to the 20-minute time limit draw.
Great match, by the way.
Just to prove who was the best. And now we find ourselves in this situation where, you know, I've won the square go. BT Gunn's never won that, but he's got something that I've never done. You know, and he's the King of Insanity. And, you know, whether I win the ICW World Championship or not, he'll always have that over me. That'll always be something that I haven't done. He'll have one up on me. So to me, this is to prove for everyone that I can be not just a top guy, not just the World Heavyweight Champion, but at the end of the day, this is insane championship wrestling. And I want to show everyone that I can be the King of Insanity as well. There's nothing I can't do.
There you go. I mean, that's exactly what it's all about. Like, it feels like you're almost, you know, you get two of the best wrestlers in Scotland competing to see who the best is, really.
Yeah.
And you've as a fan, it kind of comes across that you've got one more box to tick before you can go for the world title belt.
Yeah, that's what this feud is based on. You know, like in lockdown, it was bitter, it was angry, it was hateful. I was a different person, but now, like you said, it's about respect. It's just about showing who the best is. He thinks he's the best. I think I'm the best. You know, we've shown time and time again that, you know, if you're in Scottish wrestling and you want a 20+ minute main event, you come to Leyton Buzzard, you come to BT Gunn, you know, we're the guys that are known for doing these styles of matches, for doing these intense, long, 20+ minute main events. It's Leyton Buzzard, it's BT Gunn. So we're going to show everyone, you know, who the best person really is. And like I said, if I have to do a King of Insanity match to show that, then I'm willing to do it, because I'll do whatever it takes to be the best.
To anyone that doesn't know, is maybe tunes into this, and because I'm not strictly a wrestling podcast, I do love wrestling, and it became a big part of the podcast. What does a King of Insanity match mean?
Well, in long story short, it is a death match, which is, you know, this taboo match.
It was nice knowing you, mate.
In wrestling, yeah, that is, you know, it's called a death match for a reason. It's something that's, you know, it's definitely come to light in more recent years, and there's a bigger spotlight on deathmatch wrestling. Huge companies, you know, like GCW and Big Japan Wrestling and stuff like that. There's huge companies that are highlighting this CZW, you know, this deathmatch style of wrestling. And it's never something I wanted to do. I've never once. I knew of it. I'd seen it, but I never wanted to be a deathmatch wrestler, and I never do want to be a deathmatch wrestler. You know, I'm a wrestler that's doing a deathmatch. I'm not a deathmatch wrestler. This is a one and done deal. I'm coming in here to show that I can do this, that I can hang with this, and that I can hang with the best. But that's it, one and done. But yeah, so the King of Insanity match is a death match for the title of King of Insanity. And if you win this match, you know, there's no championship, there's no belt, it's a title. You know, if you win this match, you are the King of Insanity. You are the craziest motherfucker in ICW. You know, that is what this title is. That you are the undisputed craziest motherfucker in this company. You know, that's what it is, and you'll do whatever it takes, whether that's drawing pins, whether that's fluorescent light tubes, whether that's, you know, barbed wire tables, fire. Anything, you know, this match is it's on another level. We've only seen 3 in ICW's history. 2 at the Hydro. 1 last year in the main event of Fear and Loathing, Stevie Boy and BT Gunn. The last Fear and Loathing before lockdown, we had the tag team match, the King of Insanity tag team match. So yeah, I think altogether this will be the 5th. There's been 4 so far. This is going to be the 5th King of Insanity match. 1-on-1. BT Gunn versus Leyton Buzzard. You know, BT Gunn beat Stevie Boy for the title of King of Insanity before he left the company, and then now it's up to me, and I'm going to take that title. You know, and then I'm going to win the ICW World Heavyweight Championship, and I'm going to be the King of Insanity, and I'm going to be the fucking King of ICW, mate.
There you go. I mean, is that a wrap?
Yeah.
I mean, the two, you obviously want to raise the bar. Everything you've obviously wrestled, you had that big long feud, and now it's kind of turned. It's almost like you've seen the growth and the transition of you as a person and as a character.
Yeah.
Through all this, and it's coming to this pinnacle now, where you've got 2 of the best that want to raise the bar, but it's like, how much more can they raise the bar? And I think it's fair to say, based on what you're saying, this is not one to miss.
Yeah, but the bar won't be raised anymore. This is it. Okay, this is the pinnacle. We're not going any further. Okay, there's no King of Insanity rematch. This is it. You know, this is the boiling point. We've wrestled each other in, you know, traditional rules, insane rules, steel cage matches. You know, 20-minute time limit draws. We've done everything there is. This is the pied de resistance. This is the finale. You know, this is it. It's not getting any bigger than this. This is, you know, the last one. We're going to give everything we have in the main event at Shugs House Party to show who the better man is.
Well, I can tell you, like, even if you're not a wrestling fan listening to this, if you get a ticket and go to this show, you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, it's unlike anything you've ever seen, you know. If you're thinking of WWE, you know, family wrestling, this is not it. This is not for the faint-hearted. You know, this show is 18 plus for a reason. You know, if you don't want to see family wrestling, if you want to see blood, if you want to see glass, if you want to see barbed wire, you know, if you want to see death matches, in Scotland, this is the only place you can come and see. It's a special attraction. You know, like I said, this in the history of ICW, you know, over 10 years, this match has only happened 5 times. So when it happens, it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. So yeah, July 29th, Shugs House Party, night 1. That's exactly what this is. It's a big deal. The main event. BT Gunn versus Leyton Buzzard, King of Insanity match. It's not going to get any bigger than that.
Fantastic. I can't wait for that, man. But see, we're talking about how extreme that match actually is. Do you at all get like you obviously want to go for the world title. That is the main goal here. But how do you even come out of a match like that in one piece to even wrestle again.
Man, but I'm taking a hiatus from the world title. You know, when I won the Square Go, you know, really it was, for me, it felt like tunnel vision. I felt like that was it. That's what I needed to set my sights on. The next thing for me was the World Heavyweight Championship. But then what happened with me and BT, you know, that we had this time limit draw, we had this match, and I knew that there was unfinished business there. And I know I've got this briefcase for a year. You know, I get to choose whenever I want. I'm the one with the power. I can choose my shot whenever I want. So I knew that I had to, you know, take a bit of time away from that to not only physically better myself. You know, I'm at the moment, in the last 3 months, I've put on 11 kilograms. You know, I'm going to be a heavyweight. That's what I want to be heavyweight champion of the world, and I want to do it as a heavyweight. So, I won't be cashing in just yet because, you know, I'm still in the midst of this bulk. You know, I'm putting on weight. I'm putting on weight every week. And yeah, like I said, I'm taking this seriously. And when I challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship, you know, I want to be a real heavyweight. So I took some time to work on myself at the gym and to, you know, really come into this match when eventually I choose to get my shot to be the best wrestler I can be. But also I want to, when what happened with me and BT, I wanted to prove myself, you know, and I felt like I had the time to do that, to take a little detour from the World Heavyweight Championship. It's not going away, you know, it's not going anywhere. I've still got my shot. I've still got a year. I can choose it whenever I want. But right now, what's important is, you know, this unfinished business for BT Gunn, finishing what we started, and in front of the fans this time. I feel like what we did in lockdown was so special for me. That was one of the best points of my career. I felt like I was putting in my best work. You know, we were doing these, like I said, these 20+ minute main events in front of no fans, all these different types of matches, steel cage matches, and I felt like some of my best work. But you know, the fans are robbed of seeing that. They didn't get to see what, like I said, what I consider some of my best work. So I feel like this is the perfect ending to the story, because now we've gone from wrestling each other in front of no fans on a fucking cold warehouse on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning to now wrestling at the O2 Academy in the main event of Shugs House Party with the fans back at one of the biggest shows of the year. So, you know, I think it's the perfect end to the story.
It's going to be some match, man, honestly. Every ICW fan I know is absolutely buzzing about it.
Thank you, man.
As am I. And see, even the time that I met you in the gym all those months ago to now, you look like bigger.
Yeah.
And it's, you can see it. And it's not even that, it's not even really been that long, you know. So I don't even know what else to say, because that was just such a good thing. But see what I wanted to tell you actually was that day, you know, for me, like I said I would come back to this, and I'm going to do it now, because I've always wanted to be in wrestling.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be involved in some way, and it was kind of one of those things where I watched it from as far back as I can remember, really, and I loved it so much. I remember one day I went to school, and I was like really young, can't really remember what age it was, right? And I was talking about Shawn Michaels or something, and somebody went, but I was like, I want to be like Shawn Michaels, and somebody turned around and went, but you can't, you'll never wrestle though, and it just kind of crushed me. I remember like, I specifically remember that moment of being like, oh, he's right, obviously I can't be a wrestler, like,
yeah.
you know. So I kind of shut it off because I liked it, I loved it so much that it kind of killed me that I couldn't do it. And then through doing this podcast and meeting Dallas and meeting Wolfie and meeting Jack Jester and stuff like that, it was like you're getting to meet people that you've watched on TV, and I was able to express how much I wanted to do it. And Dallas said, look, we'll get you in the ring and we'll do some stuff, and then we kind of talked about it, but nothing really came about. And when Wolfie came in here, it was like, one, I'll take you down there. And honestly, I always wondered what it would feel like, whether I would do it and I'd be like, oh, this is too much or whatever. But honestly, like, see, as soon as I went in there and took my first bump, I was like, this feels exactly the way I thought it would. It felt like I was right at home.
Yeah.
I was almost, and I like, Wolfie gets annoyed at me because the whole time we're doing it, I'm just smiling.
Yeah,
I'm
mate.
just like,
I struggled with that when I started as well.
I'm just so happy to be there. And
Yeah.
it's like, you feel like you're living something that you never thought was going to happen. I mean, Paul was there videoing the first one, and you could just see how happy I was. And every time I go in there, it's like, wow, I'm so happy, to be in here.
Yeah.
And when I met you that day and you kind of took the time to give me some feedback, And as you were leaving the gym, you asked me what my name was, and you didn't really need to do that. You know what I mean? And I thought that was really cool of you to just take the time out to.
Oh man, like I said, I respect anyone who takes that leap and actually, takes that step and gets into the ring, because it's a hard thing to do for anyone, and to be able to take that leap and actually take it to the next step and actually do something about it. You know, everyone says they want to be a wrestler. Everyone who watches wrestling says they want to be a wrestler, but very few actually take that leap and go for it. So, there's a level of respect there for me for anyone who actually takes that leap and goes for it. And I think it was awesome to see Wolfie, and he's one of these guys that, it doesn't matter who you are, fucking how able you are, if you've got a passion for wrestling and you want to come and train, then he's going to help you at Iron Girders Gym, so that's it was really cool to see you in there, man.
No, I appreciate that, and that, as Dallas would say, it's cerebral ballsy. That's
what
he calls it. That's what he calls it.
It sounds like Dallas. Yeah.
He said that, and I said, I'm going to get a t-shirt of that one day.
Yeah, no, you should, mate. You should get that trademarked. That's a good one.
I said to him, man, I was like, I think he's always had a kind of a good respect for me right from the first time we met, and originally I was like, oh, let me take a bump or give somebody a weapon or something.
Yeah.
And then but now I'm like, no, fuck that. I want to be a wrestler.
Yeah,
I want to just
keep at it, man. There's a space for it. It's about work ethic, man.
Exactly.
And if you put in that work, the same work that you put into everything else you do, like obviously you were telling me before we started about your football team. If you can put in that same work into wrestling, it's that same mindset, then you're gonna go far. Keep at it. Wolfie's the best guy to be in there with. He's gonna help you, man.
He is such a great guy as well, isn't he, really?
Yeah.
But see, listen to your whole journey here and being able to talk to you about it, like your whole ethos and the way you think about it, is the way I feel that I've still yet to implement that all those kind of different things, and I can't wait to just grind the workout and enjoy that sort of journey.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're 24 and I'm 25, I'm like, one day today we're doing a podcast, but a few years from now we could be doing something else.
Yeah, man.
So this has been a really fun conversation.
Thanks, man. And keep enjoying it. Keep that feeling. You said you couldn't stop smiling, Learn to be able to not smile, but smile on the inside, man. Keep that feeling, because for me, I think wrestling's one of those things where it's supposed to be a passion. It's supposed to be a love. And it's supposed to be fun, right? Everyone's doing this because they don't want to live a normal job. They've always felt like that they were destined for something else, something greater. So, you got to be having fun when you're wrestling, always. And I always, whether I'm training every week, whether I'm in the ring wrestling, I still have fun wrestling, as much fun as I do when I started. And I still get that feeling. And you should always keep that feeling. Because the minute you stop having fun, the minute it becomes a job, then it's like, why are you doing it? Why aren't you just working a 9 to 5 then, or a normal job? If it's boring, if you're not having fun, then what's the point? We're doing this because we want to do something different. So if I can give you any advice, it's keep that feeling, man. That feeling when you can't stop smiling because you're in the ring, you're doing what you want to do. Keep that feeling, because that's what wrestling's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. Absolutely,
mate. I love everything about it, and I can't. I mean, see, even the idea of just. When I see the evolution of wrestling, to me, I always felt like there was a part of it missing, because I've been in a wheelchair my whole life.
Yeah.
So it's always been the way that I've done things. But you see, like, how much like the kind of the whole thing that started with the give divas a chance type of thing, and the push for equality, and you're like, but you're still watching this show because it's such a variety, and you're like, there's still nobody that I can really fully relate to on this in terms of. So I was like, well, if nobody else is doing it, why the fuck don't I do it then?
Yeah, exactly, mate. There's an opening for everything. So, and like I said, equality is not just men and women. It's anyone who loves wrestling and feels like they've got something to give and wants to put in that effort the same as everyone else.
Well, I can tell you and anyone that's listening that I'm going to do it, and I will have a wrestling match one day.
Good, mate. I look forward to seeing that. I look forward to seeing it. Maybe me and you will meet in the ring one day. You never know.
I'll tell you what, man. People probably look at me and go, maybe you could do a wee bit of that, but you couldn't have like a 20-minute wrestling match.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I will have a 20-minute classic wrestling match one day, man.
Oh, that's a big call.
Honestly, I swear to God, because there's nothing. See, every part of the work, I enjoy every part of it.
Yeah.
Because and see, even just the idea of coming out to the ring, having your own music and all that. I'm going to be so ready for it.
I'll watch out for it, mate. I've seen you kick a ball. I don't want to be on the receiving end of one of them. Exactly. Okay, so I'll be staying out of the way.
Just wanted to say that because it's just been so much fun, and I think meeting guys like yourself and just the community, how supportive everyone's been. Even when I posted about it the first time, the kind of reaction from the community and the wrestlers was kind of like, wow, these people actually really want me to succeed. And that was a really cool feeling, because I kind of went into it being like, what are people going to think? I thought there'd be more opposition to it.
Yeah.
But everyone's been like, hey, fucking let's go and do it, man. And I can't wait for it. But listen, I've absolutely loved every single part of this conversation.
Man, thank you, man. Thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
Been a pleasure to have you on, and I hope that you steal the show. And next time, by the way, just before we finish up, see, when you get that belt, I want you to come back here with it. I want to see that belt in the studio, man.
Okay, we'll replace the the WWE title. We'll put my title there.
Exactly,
you know? Okay,
exactly. And
sweet.
then by that point, whether it's like a year or two from now, I will be a better wrestler than I am right now, and you better believe I'll be cutting promos on your ass.
Oh, okay, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's a deal. It's a deal.
No, thanks again, mate. And,
thanks for having me on, buddy.